So now, last but not least, in this class I'm going to go over what the 6 primary different types of progressive overload are. Alright, because as I keep saying, it's not just about the weight. The weight is just the first training variable that you can do progressive overload with, which you should be doing in 2.5 to 10 pound increments every week. Or if you are not increasing the weight, the second thing that you could be increasing is the reps that you are doing in some of your sets. All right, adding 1 or 2 reps is a good amount of work addition if you are not increasing the weight. And that is in many ways more effective than adding weight. Because with most loads, unless you're talking about, using a very small load, adding just 5 or 10 pounds to your set is not adding as much work as adding 2 reps would be. All right, so keep that in mind, that adding 2 more reps actually adds up to be you doing more work than if you were to be adding weight. The next training variable that you can do progressive overload with, number 3, is the amount of sets you are doing. Adding sets is a huge way to do progressive overload. It means you are doing much more work than if you were to be adding just weight or reps. However, there is a limit to how many sets each of your muscles can do. But there is a 4th training variable that you can do progressive overload with. If you really are getting serious and hardcore about fitness, the next thing you could do progressive overload with is your rate of perceived exertion. So you could be putting forth more and more effort, training closer and closer to failure, and then even going beyond failure when you start doing progressive overload with your RPE. But of course, there's only so far you can go with that as well. Once you're training beyond failure, well, you've gone as far as you possibly can, and you will need to dial it back. But there's a 5th training variable that you could do progressive overload with, which is especially good for people who are getting more advanced and really need to find ways to make their training harder, and that is your training technique. You could start to take the same exercises you have been doing, that you have done as much progressive overload in these other ways with as you can. They're starting to go stale, and you can slightly alter the technique in order to make it harder and thus more hypertrophic. And that's basically what I was teaching you in part 3 when I was teaching all of these different exercises, as I was teaching a number of techniques for every movement pattern, which is ways that you can alter the exercise in order to manipulate your training variable of exercise selection and make your exercises harder. All right, and this is a highly effective technique, especially for hypertrophy. But it is not the last type of progressive overload. There's one more training variable that you can do progressive overload with, and that is auto-regulation, which basically means that when you master an exercise and your mind-muscle connection with it, you will start to see other miscellaneous aspects of it, maybe other training variables, maybe it's the way you are doing something with it, but you're going to start to notice ways you can auto-regulate your exercise in order to make it harder and harder over time. It is something that will happen to you when you get really used to pieces of equipment, movement patterns, different types of exercises, and you've tried them all sorts of different ways. You'll start to come up with new ways that you can train for whatever you're training and do progressive overload and make your training harder and grow more from it. So those are the 6 different forms of progressive overload that you can be doing. And so not only is it not all about the weight, but as I said before, even when you think you've hit a plateau or a ceiling in one way, there are still so many other ways that you can continue to be doing progressive overload and continuing to make more and more hypertrophy adaptations and grow muscle and increase your performance as time goes on. You just need to continue manipulating those training variables. All right, so don't just be doing progressive overload with weight or reps. There are so many ways to do it that you could be using to make your training harder and thus more stimulative and growth oriented over time. And don't worry, because I'm going to be teaching you more about all of those and how to do progressive overload with them and everything you need to know about it in the rest of this phase. And you can look very forward to the next class, which is on training volume and how to add it over time for progressive overload. I hope you found this class helpful. Now, make sure to put what information you learned into practice right away before you forget, okay? That way it can actually go to work for you, because speed of implementation is one of the keys to success. If you have any questions or need any help, be sure to let me know either in the comments below or by the email address that is in the video description below. And if you are passionate about fitness but don't have time to do all of your own programming yourself and would like to have an expert programmer like me create and manage all of your fitness routines and planning for you, who can systematize your training so that you can reach your goals as fast as possible. Be sure to inquire about my online personal training and fitness programming services. No matter what your schedule, budget, or goals, I can formulate the exact right program for you that will expedite your progress and growth and get you the body you want sooner rather than later, okay? And without ever spinning your wheels in the mud or hitting a plateau. And if you liked anything that I said in this video, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button and notification bell too, so that you can get all of my other videos that are like this one. And just remember that these videos are actually part of a course that is laid out in a linear fashion. So make sure you have seen all of the videos before this one that you need to see, and that you are subscribed and will continue to watch the videos that you watch on this channel in the order that they are presented to you.